All right, welcome to the Lockdown Podcast. We took a brief siesta just for holidays and whatnot in May. We're gonna get back at it as we always do. Not gonna go down kind of Raw SmackDown matches. I feel like if you've seen it, you've seen it. We don't need to run it down again. So how have you guys been the last couple weeks? I know it's been Mother's Day and some other stuff, so.
Well, I've enjoyed a little bit of the break, but now I'm ready to get back in it, see what Raw and SmackDown are bulling up for this tour to the King of the Ring tournament and see what they're going to surprises they're going to have, what new storylines they may try to introduce and finish up. So, yeah.
Yeah, so they really only essentially have a handful of matches essentially for King of the Ring. Um Basically you have Cody versus Logan, which that's just obnoxious.
It is.
Um I don't think the fact that Logan basically doesn't put his title on the line and holds on to a title, he's holding it hostage basically. He doesn't, he says he's the longest reigning, but current champion. But I'm like, well, he's not. He might be reigning, but he ain't defended. Um, and then you have the Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan match. Um, and then you have the what seems like they've ran this back more times than I can count. Sami Zayn versus Bronson Reed versus Chad Gable for the IC title. Um, so we'll kind of get into it. So kind of on Raw as it stands right now, you have Damage Control kind of still running roughshod. Um, Not too surprised in that regard, but I don't think that they are as damaging as they think they are. Just because without championships, your factions really don't mean anything, right? I mean, the only faction that means something you don't have titles is literally the Bloodline. Um, I don't think a lot of factions, there's so many factions that where do you go, you know, what's the end game, or at least the targeted goal of that faction. So you basically, okay, so we're having, essentially the King of the Ring bracket. And now we're working our way into essentially what a kind of a new PLE, I guess, and which I'm kind of okay with, the whole King of the Ring PLE. I think it'll finally showcase, more of the King of the Ring format. Um so right now as it sits, we have the semifinals. You have Gunther versus Jey Uso. And then you have on the other side, you have Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton. Um, what do you guys? What would be your fantasy booking? As far as those four guys, so Gunther versus Tama, Gunther versus Randy, Jay versus Tama, Jay versus Randy. What would be? What would you want to see?
Hmm.
All right. I'm going to
I'll let him go
just,
first.
yeah, just because I saw it on the Russell Talk podcast and YouTube channel, it's Gunther all the way. I think building for a Gunther championship is where they're headed. Now, could they surprise us and put Jay versus Randy or Jay versus Tama? I don't I don't see Tama getting past Randy. I don't think
No.
that is the story for the bloodline. I I think Randy wins by disqualification. So
I totally agree with him. I think Gunter will get it because he look at the reign he had with the Intercontinental title. Great, perfect, and I think he is perfect for a fucking world title match.
Yeah.
what's his name? That Tama, he's just stepped in WWE. He does not deserve a championship yet. He still needs to get his feet in the WWE's water first and get the fans going for him. But I could see him getting a title shot sometime down the near future. Randy, yeah, maybe, but he got 5 more years. He got plenty of time to get another championship match. Because he said he's told people that he's given WWE 5 more years and then he might retire. He's already announced that.
Yeah,
And
I think honestly, any scenario, I feel like we're gonna be okay with.
same.
You know, because realistically, how it's set right now, I mean, Gunther versus Jay. I mean, I feel like maybe this is just my hypothetical. So Gunther versus Randy, and now Jay versus ex Bloodline Tamatonga in a future PLE. I feel like that would be my way of going. But yeah, like you said, I think Gunther is a surefire for this, just given that he just came out of his reign with the IC title in an ironic number of 666 days. but
Really bad number there.
it's a very devilish number. But like, I really think that Gunther, he has a draw. He's really only lost a handful of times since he's been on the main roster. I really thought they were going to run it back with Gunther versus Ilya, just given their history. But if they don't, if they keep calling Jey Uso main event Jey Uso and they don't have him in some form of a main event, like he's a crowd favorite, but the tagline main event Jey Uso is kind of it's wearing thin because we're not getting, any main event particular situations for Jey Uso. And it's when are they going to pull the trigger? We have no idea, and that's just the difficulty of it is just that you don't have this big push. He hasn't held a singles title. He's essentially held the longest reigning tag titles with his brother. He's won the tag titles for a month or so with Cody, which I thought was honestly kind of a weird segue, I guess. But
That was a weird tag team too.
yeah,
It was fun.
So we'll just kind of touch on Raw here. So like, if you guys have been watching, anybody who's been watching the slow, methodical dismantling of the Alpha Academy, I feel like if they're gonna pull the full blown trigger on Chad Cable being a heel, he's definitely on his way.
Isn't he already? I mean,
to be honest,
well,
with you, the way his heel's going, it's kind of shitty. To be honest,
well, I mean,
I'm not
like,
really liking it.
Single, like dropping the Alpha Academy and just being Chad Gable. You know what I'm saying?
That's perfect. But him being in this group and going with a heel, it's really terrible.
He's got to break away, but but it's like when he breaks away, what do they do with him?
You pair him with the Creed brothers, and you form a new Alpha Academy. You bury Otis and Tozawa and Dupree, and you just you give them back, to the undercard or the mid card, and you push Chad and the remnants of Diamond Mind, and you let that be his new faction, where there's definitely that athletic and aggressive edge.
Right. More of the actual wrestling.
I could see that.
To me, that seems like the only logical way of doing it, and that may be a realization from, somewhere else. But I just think his time and their time as the Alpha Academy has run its course. They've got over what they wanted to. They've made that transition from the whole male model shtick, and they've moved away from that, and let them go into like maybe Chad is like, you failed me as at Alpha Academy and you've been replaced or you've been fired or whatever have you, and he goes and he gets teamed up with the Creed brothers, which legitimately should be like
kind of a Kurt Angle team 2.0.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
which is what
Yeah,
we
and
thought. The original Inception was going to be with Alpha Academy with Gable and Jason Jordan. Was that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, before his untimely injury, and
Yeah.
that's
The
rough.
the son of Kurt Angle.
Yeah, the son of Kurt Angle. Like you
Bro, I think
that was a
they
story.
pushed that through quick and just kind of let it fizzle out.
Oh,
I definitely do think that with the amateur background that the Creed brothers do have, and obviously with Chad Gable also, and so I feel like that would be a good fit, just because and maybe have the Creed brothers go heel. I wouldn't be against it. Honestly, like
They
I
are a
like
great
I like
tag
Brutus
team.
and Julie. I think they're they could turn real quick. Like, I mean, I feel like but then again, as it stands, do we want to have too much of an oversaturation of heel factions though?
bring them on.
So like
That is
that's
true.
that's the balance that we have to try to think about, just because you don't want to have too much heel and not enough face. There has to be some
I think that's a
equilibrium.
reflection of just in general, just society. You like, who's right, who's wrong, who's good, who's bad. I think it's just a reflection. And yeah, I wouldn't mind a heel faction, but the reason why they're heelish is because they're aggressive. Like AOP, they should be like really high level, like main
But
event.
they're gassed. They're gassed in their matches, and you can see it. That's the only problem, is that AOP is.
Yeah, they get
they're
tired
not-
pretty easily.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've-
but that doesn't negate them being a
force.
a force. Yeah, a good tag team to be like, hey, you have world championship material. You don't have long matches. Goldberg was champion, and he did not have long matches.
Right.
So,
I mean, maybe just one of those dominant tag teams that just runs roughshod. I mean,
exactly.
If you even kind of think of when it was Bobby Lashley and MVP with Shelton and Cedric. I mean,
Hurt Business.
that does make sense. I mean, honestly, because if you think about it, all the female matches are literally shorter than shit. So like, if you can pack a quality match in like 12 minutes, I think it's feasible. It's just if you kind of think about it, if you're watching it live, you're probably going to watch, it'll be 12 minutes on live TV and like 10 off TV. So you're still getting a 20-minute match. It just goes by quick if you're watching it on like Hulu or Netflix or Hulu, and so you're getting without the commercials. So like you think it only seems like it's this long, but it's actually a lot longer. Right. So if you piece out the commercials that are about 5-ish minutes long, they might have 2 commercials. That's 10 minutes right there. So I mean, these matches could be a lot longer. We just don't see it, because we're not there live.
Yeah.
So I think that does negate a little bit of like the matches that we think that aren't that long, like women's matches not being that long. But I mean, they're usually like 10-ish minutes. There's rarely a commercial break, but they have been giving a little more leeway though. If you noticed in some of the matches, kind of the quarterfinal matches, they were giving them quite a bit more time than normal. Which I'm not against, because I think it was let's see, Bianca and Tiffany I think had a commercial. I know Jade had a commercial. So I mean, I think they're they're giving him a little more time, which is, especially in, considering it's, the Queen of the Ring matches. So I feel they're giving him kind of a little more pay-per-view time.
Right.
Now, so when you go into the, essentially the final bit of the Queen of the Ring as far as the semifinals, because you had Io Sky versus Shayna Baszler, you had Laya Valkyria versus Zoe Stark, Jade versus Nia, Bianca versus Tiffany. And how it played out, and when you looked at it, it was like, okay, we could possibly have the tag team titles like basically versing each other. I thought as soon as Bianca won, there was going to be an issue in Jade's match. I don't feel like a Bianca Jade Cargill match with the titles on them currently is a good fit. Down the road, definitely, because you got strength for strength. Just not now. So now you have the semifinals being Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria, and Bianca versus Nia. So let's rabbit trail those ones. So Io and Lyra and Bianca and Nia, like, what would you think would be kind of the best fit in regards to who would it matter most to win Queen of the Ring?
I'm deferring to Tim now.
King of the Ring.
Or Queen of the Ring, I guess. But.
Hold on, my stuff
So
just
Io
popped
Sky,
down.
yeah. So it's the updated brackets: King of the Ring, Io Sky, Lyra, Valkyria, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax. Now, since you're kind of pontificating over it, I'm gonna say so. So given Io Sky has just come out of her title reign, I'm not pushing for her. I think Bianca doesn't need this. Nia Jax, it really wouldn't. For someone who's being the irresistible force, she's not winning titles. And so you could call her what you want, but if she's not dominating, because every time you see these matches, right, with the exception of Jade Cargill or Bianca Belair lifting her, every other person is second rope, basically Nia jumping off to do something. So, I'm really honestly I'm pulling for Lyra Valkyria. Yes, she's an up and coming, from NXT, but I feel like my fantasy booking would be Lyra versus Bianca. I think Bianca will beat Nia Jax, and Nia Jax will, basically continue down the L train. And I wouldn't be against her being released. Honestly, I'm not.
I kind of totally agree with the ones that you're choosing. I didn't see the list down below. I was looking at the guys. I'm like, where the frick is the girls? And I'm like, okay, there it is.
Scroll down more.
yeah, I agree. Nia Jax, she just needs to go. She's not doing so well, and a lot of the females do not like wrestling with her because she's just terrible in the ring.
Well, she's been schmucked in the past for being unsafe. So
yeah, I think I think they wouldn't have brought her back if she was unsafe. First of all, that's a given. She's serving a role. That's to either build up a good story for someone else, or to be a worker. And if that's her role, then that's her role. I'm actually going with Nia Jax for it all. I think it would help her credibility. It would position her to be able to challenge and win championships. I think it's a good look to put it on Nia, and it's also, if they don't go with Nia, to put it on Bianca, because now we can have more accolades on Bianca than Jade, and we can build up a jealous Jade storyline.
I like that.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would really start to tie in for something at WrestleMania with Jade and Bianca. I don't want to see Jade and Bianca until we get to WrestleMania. That's That's 100.
It
Anything
just
other than that, it would feel rushed, because what I want to see is then once we get a championship on Jade, a singles championship, I then want to see a Asuka like run with her where she is just dominant and she's just smashing everybody. I mean, before we get to there, I need to see a championship, a singles championship on Shayna Baszler. She's more than earned it. She's
Bulls, I totally agree. She for,
Oh,
for her,
100%.
I'm a hardcore fan of hers.
yes.
I like her.
It's
She can
daunting how
work,
they put the
yeah.
titles on the same 5-6 wrestlers.
And
You know,
it's because,
and it's
yeah, it's what the fans are buying that merch for. It to
I
me
mean-
it sounds more of championship runs are more based upon
popularity.
popularity. It's a popularity contest, and unfortunately, that's kind of how it is. With the WWE, it's like, hey, you're really hot, you're really popular. We got to see if we can maintain this. Then once we are able to maintain this, and we have a good story for you, then we can start talking about singles runs, championships, and stuff like that. I'm also waiting for them to just jumping back to the men. I'm waiting for them to pull the trigger on Montez Ford. They don't need to split up the Street Profits. They don't need to make anybody turn heel. They could easily write D'Angelo Dawkins into his own singles run, and they can give Montez Ford his singles run.
Oh, I
think
totally agree,
I-
100% on that.
Montez Ford versus Jey Uso all day, every day. I would love to see it. Montez Ford against Logan Paul. Give it to me. I would want to see something like that. I would. If there was even, and we can touch back on it a little bit later. But there was another comment where I found out even more about the athleticism and combat skills of Montez Ford. Just going down the rabbit holes of the internet for pro wrestling, you can you learn different things about him. But getting back to the women, Nia Jax, Bianca Belair, both have really good potential. I don't think I want to see Io Sky with it. She's kind of my dark horse, and Lyra Valkyria. No, she doesn't do it for me, and I also have not really gotten into her matches. But that's not to say that she's not a great performer or she wouldn't be there. It's just that, just like with Ilya, just like with Carmelo Hayes, you know what, those new draft rookies, give them a little bit of time to breathe, get accustomed and accommodated, or get accustomed to the storylines, get people interested in them, and then start building them up, just like you did with an LA Knight, just like you're doing with a Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker's not even in the tournament.
I'm
and
shocked.
He should be. If you really want to make King of the Ring, as much as they've been parading him and making him an absolute beast, put Gunther and Braun Breaker into it. And by the way, I do not like Braun Breaker's name. It's Bronson Steiner, but because we already have another Bronson, we can't call him. Braun Steiner would be fine, call him the dog-faced gremlin, but that's a whole nother story. We were talking about the women, and I apologize. So Nia Jax is an easy pick for me because of her size, because of her history. Anything
So honestly,
outside of that, yeah.
So basically, I mean, it comes down to, I mean, I see, this is why we love having 3 people on here, because it's a whole different mindset, a whole different view, and that makes a crap ton of sense. I'm glad you're here, because honestly, that's the thing. We all have different thoughts, and on how things go and how things hypothetically would want them go, and that does make sense. And I mean, it just kind of stinks, because you almost would prefer to come down to Bianca and Nia, not even Io Sky and Lyra, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I think now that I'm kind of looking kind of side by side as far as Bianca and Nia, I think Nia needs this more than Bianca. Bianca has accolades already. She's got, a Royal Rumble win. She's got title reigns on both sides. Now she has a tag title. Nia really hasn't had as many accolades, and so I feel like this would definitely, nothing like Queen Nia. Like I feel like, or Queen Jax, whatever you want to call her. I feel like I think that would build layers on her arrogant personality. Because
Oh yeah, she'll
sometimes you
get.
get because when you had, Queen Zelina, she was more of a face queen, but then when you had Baron, you had that heel king. So I feel like, yeah, I think Nia adding on another layer to her arrogance, I that that's something, and I think that makes a crap ton of sense.
I
Um,
kind of totally agree. She could probably be like the queen, like try to be like the powerhouse of all the women on SmackDown, saying, "I'm the boss. I'm the queen. You bow down
right.
to me."
Right.
So we were talking about this beforehand, Tim. So Frederick, we were basically touching on this whole since Becky's defending her title to Liv Morgan, and now you're having basically Damage Control come after Becky, and then you have Lyra coming out. Do you think this is what we were talking about? Is that Becky loses, Liv goes and does her thing, on her whole whatever revenge tour stuff, and then Becky and Lyra team up, over the next couple months, maybe, to thwart more Damage Control stuff. Um, just because Becky and Lyra obviously they're both from the same place. They do have the history with the NXT title, and now some of the overlapping stuff on the main roster. Um, I think that would be another notch, I guess you could say, because it's like when you like Damage Control really hasn't. They don't have a dominance. They're more of an annoyance, right? Because you literally like you play the numbers game, which is about the most cliche thing in wrestling. When they say, "Oh, the numbers game," like, "Oh, go figure," you
Bullshit.
know. But I really feel like these if these people that are singles and they become into the tag scene, even if it's for a brief moment, like Bianca and Jade are only going to be a tag thing for let's call it 6 months. Basically exiting out, I think, like you said, as far as the slow build to jealousy, which does make a hell of a lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
And so, I think that, when you start putting these layers to like, okay, they're tags and then they're not tags and then they're solo, like you bounce them around. That kind of gives you a little more opportunity when it comes to like you have a tag division. Okay, well these people tagged together before, you know, and yeah, and I think the women's tag division, it needs a second freaking title. They need titles on both shows because it's we're starting to develop these tag teams out of freaking thin air practically. Whether it's the farts, man, what the stupid names are. But like Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree, you have Natalia and Tegan Knox. You have all these tag teams that are really lost in the shuffle, and I feel like, and again, they freaking need to have a second women's tag title. Not that it's going to bring any more validity to women's tag teams, but just like balance the opportunities. Because
That,
when you have one, you're because they're bouncing between shows, even though essentially they get drafted to one or the other, but then they're not. So then what's the point of even drafting them if they're not,
yeah,
you know, because they kept all the championships out of the draft,
so
which I thought was great.
so remind
Oh
me,
yeah.
there was an NXT Women's Tag Team Championship, right? Then there was a either SmackDown or Raw Women's Tag Team Championship.
There was just the women's tag team titles. That's
Okay,
it.
and they would go back and forth. So
Yeah.
I think that we need to just say we've got Undisputed. That's the current tag women's
Right.
tag team championships, and then we have the world tag team championship.
Right.
Women's world tag team
Yeah.
championships. If NXT doesn't get another women's tag team championships, okay, then the world come down and they defend against the world.
Right.
You know, I wouldn't even say come down.
You know-
I would say like, you know, it's another brand. So along those lines, yes, it does make, that point does make sense. I do like the fact that we do have a lot of tag teams. And then these tag teams are indeed short-lived at times, you know, a few months, maybe a year or two. So I don't really have a problem with it. What I do have a problem with it is when women's matches, whether they're tag teams, battle royals, eliminators, whatever have you, that they're not given the same amount of time. And I would like to see a formula or way, excuse me, that they do get that time.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too is that they took away the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, so they literally chopped out essentially. Now you have one set of titles for essentially 3 brands. Essentially,
Right.
they don't really defend them too often in NXT, or even have a tag team, women's match in NXT, but they took them away. And like you said, I feel like you could have NXT wrestlers come to their main roster and face one of those brands. One of those
Right.
brands' champions.
And it's a
Like
good,
have them
it's-
come up
yeah.
versus going down.
It's a
you
good
know.
way to get them on TV, to get them acquainted
Exactly.
to the product, to
Yeah.
you know,
Because not everybody watches NXT, and so like
right.
No,
when
not
they
a lot of people do.
And not a lot
No.
of people will and this fall, because it's moving to broadcast television. It's moving off of cable over to the CW. So not a lot of people are, and I wouldn't, their ratings will go down, but that's a whole nother topic. But specifically for Damage Control versus Lyra and Becky in the future, with there being stories and talk about Asuka being hurt, I think that is a good way to keep Damage Control, in people's minds by pairing them up with, in that, with targeting Becky, they're at least pretty much guaranteeing to be on a show so people can remember. And then when Asuka returns, if she does, from injury, if she is injured, that we can get some sort of tag team match where we either dismantle Damage Control and everyone kind of just goes on their separate ways, or we rehabilitate and re-energize Damage Control and we grow them at the cost of Becky and Lyra starting to build up the future stars of the WWE. So there's room. The only issue that I have is that out of all the main players, I think the one that is presented as the weakest link of that group is Dakota Kai, and I think that she needs more of a edge.
managerial.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Managerial to me seems to be just. It needs to be that. It's that thing where it's just like, we know we need to have you on TV because you have a good fan base and a good draw,
Right.
but you are just not. Your in-ring work is not being appreciated.
Yeah.
So we need to do something with you that gets you over and gets you in a way that
Right.
you are the mouthpiece of this group, and you kind of are the it factor of this group. Everyone knows that all 3 of those athletes in Damage Control, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Io Sky, are veterans. They were brought in as veterans. So there's no doubt about it that they all can hold their own, and they all are world champions in their own right.
Right.
It is Dakota Kai who needs probably the biggest support from that group, and needs an it factor given to her in order to make that group much more
Right.
believable in the women's division as something to be dealt with.
Right. It's
And I
They're
think
not.
that has to do with creative and how much Triple H and his creative team are going, what they see in the future for her and for Damage Control. Maybe Damage Control has run its course, and we're looking for a good way to break them apart.
Right.
Break them apart or give them a fucking great ass fucking push.
Either or at this particular point, it could go either way. We don't know, and that's kind of the joy of this. We get to speculate of what could be. For me, this is going to sound wild, but I want them to get bigger. I want Damage Control to get bigger, and I want them to be. At some particular point, I would like to see for the women's faction. I would like to see an NWO style faction with like half the roster being part of Damage Control. Like, literally I could get behind.
Well, do you think that
I agree.
Yeah, whether it is a giant size Judgment Day or a giant size Damage Control, I want to see. I'm holding out for this Bloodline storyline to run its course so I can get the OGBC in WWE and get that. We can talk about that some other time, but my goal is there to be like 3 major factions,
right? Well,
and one of them being for the women and women only.
I totally agree. I would like to see the Bloodline finally just fade out, and then you got AJ Styles, the Good Brothers, and you got the other 2 guys that are in the Bloodline, and make some shape or form a Bullet Club, because WWE has been dropping the name Bullet Club, and that's shocking because at the time when Vince was in charge, that was not allowed. Now Triple H is okay.
Yeah, because you still have Finn. Wasn't JD part of it as well?
No. No.
Okay, so it's just Finn. You have Finn,
the
AJ Styles, Good Brothers,
and Tama.
And
Tama.
So like, there's so many possibilities. Like, given again that they've been a little more forthcoming in regards to saying Bullet Club, because now you have essentially 3 factions that could fall apart and create and like basically break down into being the OC or the Bullet Club, whatever you want to call it.
Don't forget about Cody Rhodes; he was part of that too.
Yeah, I don't see Cody joining a faction anytime soon.
No,
I think he'll have. I think Cody for the foreseeable future will be alone. I think he will have people in his corner, but as far as faction wise, Cody is good by himself. So now that we're back, now that we've kind of circled to Cody, now this is the stupidest booking I've ever heard in WWE. There was no build, there was no earning, there was no anything. Nick Aldis just says, "Hey, Cody, I got your next opponent." Stupid ass Logan Paul. What the fuck? Like I mean, I don't mean to be explicit and like really pissed off, but Logan Paul has done jack shit in WWE. I think he's wrestled maybe once or twice on a non-PLE, and every time he fights, outside interference, brass knuckles, like we're over it. There's nothing I want more than to Logan Paul to break his leg and be out for a year. I genuinely, I hate him as a performer. I hate him as a person. I loathe him.
That's really how you really feel.
Yeah.
Like dead ass. Him and his brother got away with fucking stealing money from children. How the fuck are they not in prison?
Oh,
they are terrible people. I hope Tyson knocks his head-covered, padded ass out because
I can't wait to watch that.
So they have, speaking of that match, so they basically have it where Tyson basically can't knock out Logan Paul or Jake Paul, in a matter of speaking. He's getting paid per round. And so basically, if he knocks Jake out in the first round, he don't really get paid. Not that he needs money, but I would love them to break the script, and Tyson be like, you know what, fuck this dude. Just drill him and knock his ass out. If
I
Jake
think he
thinks he's gonna
will.
get a ring with one of the goats of boxing, who did boxing for a living, not a part-time gig, not a YouTube video. No, he did it for a fucking living.
I want to
Beat
see
people's
Mike. I
ass
want to
for a
see
living.
I want to see Mike Tyson just bite his fucking ear out and his ear off and spit it in the audience.
There you go. Let's run it back, Evander.
Yeah.
So, I hate the Paul brothers. I've been Paul in WWE in general, in the sense of he's a part timer. He's just here for viral moments. He's not here to. They want to bring eyes to the product, but if Logan doesn't wrestle every freaking week, then there's no eyes getting drawn. They're just gonna watch it and hopefully he shows up. Like I don't like part timers.
All
I
right.
hate part timers in WWE because
I am
ugh.
not a Logan Paul fan at all. But I will say this. The vitriol that you just spoke about Logan Paul is part of their overall presentation of
They got
Logan
me.
Paul as a pro wrestling character.
They got me.
The same way you feel about Logan Paul in his presentation is akin to how I perhaps feel about a certain performer from Chicago. So with that being said, yes, Logan Paul and his character are doing their job. Their job one is to irritate.
Dominic Mysterio.
Yep, Tom and Nick. I'd rather have all day, every day.
I want that shirt. I want that shirt so bad. Tom and Nick.
So I don't see Logan Paul winning. I see there being a DQ finish or a clean finish with some wacky antics. We are in Saudi Arabia, I believe, and I think this is just one of those types of stories and booking and matches where it doesn't make sense. You are questioning, why is this coming up? But it could be, the bottom line could be like behind the scenes, hey, it's contractual. It's what we agreed
Right.
upon, and we're coming down to the end of his contract. We would like to continue this partnership. It works. Let's do these things. Okay, fine. Let's do it. We're giving it to the fans. We know people are not going to like it. They're going to have a comment on it. But we already know where we want to take Cody and this championship run that he is on. So this is us fulfilling that contractual obligation and making good on the working agreement. We've already got all the negative things that we don't want. We're doing probably because of that. And with that being said, this is the story that we have. We've got a jerk and a heel in Logan Paul, a solid athlete, and he does this pretty well. For
Right.
someone that has not spent their life doing it, he is an athlete, and he's doing this very well at a reasonably high rate. So yeah, I mean, I want this match for Cody? No, but does that mean I get one premium live event away from never seeing Logan Paul in a WWE ring again?
One last hurrah.
You know what? Then I'm eventually winning. I won't have to deal with him,
Right.
representing WWE, the United States Championship, or any championship. He could resign, and then that's a whole nother story. But we've got to have these throwaway stories. We are kind of in that lull. I mean, this is an event that is for Saudi Arabia. It's a partnership with their government. This is what we have. This is what they wanted to see. This is what we're putting together. They probably wanted to see Logan Paul and Cody Rhodes.
It's probably a
know what?
Goldberg scenario where they
Yeah.
bring in the big ones that it doesn't matter that how good or bad they do. They're
Right.
just there.
They're just there. They're presenting. They're going to give what they have, and this is what we're doing. It doesn't make any sense from a long-time WWE supporter and participant in their products. It doesn't make any sense from us. But what it does do is it gets Logan Paul out of that championship picture as quickly as possible, so we don't have to see or hear about this during SummerSlam or during Survivor Series.
Agree.
You know, so let's beyond the hate, you know, just a little bit beyond the hate, you know, and just be all right. This is what we have to deal with. Thanks, Nick Aldis. By the way, why is Nick Aldis on Raw and Adam Pearce on SmackDown? Did we do like that switcheroo or something? Because I saw a couple of like things on the internet where, you know, they're announcing SmackDown general manager, you know, Adam Pearce, and I was like, wait a minute, he's been on Raw. Like, what
They switched it up without telling us.
Yeah, like did that?
Well, they switched the announcers too. They actually they brought up the lady from NXT to the main roster and put Nick Rome down in NXT. That was actually a personal switch just because he wanted to spend more time with his family in Florida. So that's why Mike Rome went down, and then the other girl got the bump up to the main roster, which she's doing a fantastic job. I honestly think that, you know, Samantha Irving has honestly been doing a fantastic job, you know, and so I think it's cool that, you know, not only the wrestlers can get a call up, I mean, the announcer can get a call up, and I think that's pretty cool. And I think,
that's really dope.
You know, I think in the near future, I think we might even start seeing some of these refs come to the main roster, you know.
I mean, they did that. They did that with two of them.
Yep.
Yeah, because wasn't it Jessica Carr?
Yep, Jessica Carr and Leon Ruff's wife is the other one that they called up, and
they're both really great. The blonde chick, she
did Backlash.
That was her first ever. She was the first ever woman to main event a match as a referee.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that's what I love about like these Saudi shows are they're basically PLEs to shatter the glass ceiling that, you know, the other parts of the world have, you know, because you're seeing a lot of it in Saudi Arabia where it's like they are starting to essentially allow WWE to kind of bring essentially things that would be not okay for their people, but allowing WWE to bring that to them. And I think that speaks volumes to WWE and its influence it has on a global platform, because the cool thing about WWE is that it is a global phenomenon. It is a global product. And, you know, the fact that, you know, France got a PLE, and I don't think the last time they had one, and I don't think they ever even had one. And I think that, like, I'm okay with these secondary PLEs being all over the world. I am all for it. I think it's awesome for the product. I think it gives these TV fans that have been just TV fans for, you know, years and years to get PLEs over there to other parts of the world, other parts of the, you know, and I think it's really, really great. You know, yes, we would love PLEs here like we always have, but like I feel like we're privileged in the sense of we could go anywhere in the country and just go to a PLE, you know. And so now that it's becoming more, you know, globally positioned with the PLEs, I think I really think WWE, honestly, with Triple H at the helm, I think it's definitely pushing the boundaries and creatively just making it cool again. I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, yeah, I despise the Paul brothers, obviously, but I think but the thing is I'm not the only one, right? Not even just from not even just from the wrestling. Obviously, like, you know, everybody, you know, has their own feelings, and that's fine. You know, but like as far as from wrestling standpoint, he's doing his job. You know, Dominic is doing his job. We hate Dominic. We hate Logan Paul.
I hate Dominic. I hate that nasty ass little caterpillar he has growing on his face.
You know, but like, you know, at the end of the day, that's what wrestling is. You're allowed, you can love wrestlers, you can hate wrestlers, but like it's the product, man. And wrestling is the best form of entertainment across the world. I'm sorry. People talk about oh, wrestling's fake. What do you think every TV show and movie you watch is fake? Even The Rock has a stunt double. Even Vin Diesel has a stunt double. Like, they aren't really performing surgery, guys. Sorry. Everything in this world is fake. Okay? Even reality TV is fake.
More fake
So-
than your mom's titties.
Exactly.
This
And
is not
so,
for kids.
So at the end of the day, wrestling is way more entertaining in the sense of these are real athletes doing real moves. It's not, I mean, even honestly, professional sports have become a gimmick. So, you can hate wrestling, you can whatever, dude. I hate reality TV. I hate The Amazing Race. I hate The Bachelor. I hate The Bachelorette. Guess what? Those are stupid shows that are the furthest thing from reality. Wrestling, these are characters, yes, and you love them and you hate them. But when you see these guys in the ring, you see all the moves they do. Even if you think of even like Otis or Bronson Reed, these big guys doing these insane moves. Ivar, you see these guys doing these moves. I would dare to see that guy, one of those people that weight in the real world, do those moves. So
100%.
these guys are all athletic. They are all athletes on a different level. They are more athletic than you. They are stronger than you. They are better performers than you. Hate them. They're better than you. And so wrestling is exactly what it is. It's wrestling entertainment. It is entertainment.
Yep.
So if you take it at face value that it is entertainment, it's not, World Wrestling Federation anymore. It's just World Wrestling Entertainment. It's entertainment. Take it at that. That's all it is. It's entertainment. So
Pretty much.
I'm not sure if we'll probably be on next week, but so basically King of the Ring finalizes this Saturday. Really they have essentially 3 matches booked. Obviously you have the 2 final for the King of the Ring, that puts it at 5. Now, let's just discuss for a hot second this Crybaby Drew McIntyre. This is just the character. It's just the character. He's not a real pissy person. But in the amazing mic work of Damian Priest. Damian Priest is a dog.
Like, when did we see this from Damian Priest? I think it's probably always been there, especially in NXT when it first started to shine or started to come through. But it's, not really come into his own and being that confident on the mic and to be able to go out there and really have a really good promo and be confident and really hold his own, like I said, in a promo. So yeah, I'm surprised. I saw bits of it and I was just wow.
It was some good mic work.
It was good. I liked it, but I think WWE is kind of giving him his little bit of a push on what he can say and do. He's doing great. He's good on the mic.
Have you seen kind of the small breaks and the small cracks in the Judgment Day in regards of Damian doesn't need Judgment Day. Judgment Day needs Damian. And you're seeing when they tried to attack whatever after the match, forgot who's facing. And he basically protected him. He's like, dude, this is not just stand next to me. Just stand next to me and just stand there. Don't and I think in the near future, I think as much as we all would, I know you'd said earlier, in the past about, Damian staying in Judgment Day. I think given the mic skills that we have just recently seen and the kind of the softer, the more face-ish Damian Priest and, because you have, again, the heels Drew and obviously, and Damian kind of played more of a different role than a typical Judgment Day segment with all of them on the ring. It was just him by himself. He seemed definitely a different character. Now, do you think in the near future, Damian, if he holds on to the title for a while, and I think he will, I think he's well deserved of a championship reign. I think he'll stay in Judgment Day but I think he will continue to basically say, "I don't need you guys." And I think in the next, we'll say 6 months to a year, he'll be done with Judgment Day. Whether it's, you know, who knows when. But I think it's going to be one of those, like you said before, Frederick, in the sense of like long-term storytelling, right?
Right.
It's going to be those slow cracks, like, like with Bianca and Jade, like a slow build to something. And I think that's how it's going to be with Damian Priest on the exit of Judgment Day in within the next 6 months to a year.
If I had to put money on it, I would say Judgment Day as a faction is done within 12 months. I don't think we have a Judgment Day. Now, ideally, what I would like to see is I would like to see Finn kicked out of Judgment Day. I would like to see him reunite with the Good Brothers and slowly build up Bullet Club.
Agree.
All right. I would like to see Carlito be the breakup of the Judgment Day. Lead him into that.
I could see that.
I would like to see Rhea and Dominic kind of do their own thing. And wherever Damian and Carlito are in that whole thing, I think I need to see a conflict and a feud with them first before we start breaking them up. I think ideally what I would like to see is Damian kind of get like, yo, what are all these stray people coming here to Judgment Day? We're not a shelter. We're not a shelter. We just don't take in anybody that everybody likes. No more Toms, no more Nicks. So I would like to see that be the breaking point. I would like to see Rhea come back. Like to see her get her championship back, and go about this in a way that it makes sense. Do we turn Damian face? Do we give R-Truth some more flowers and have him be the reason why Damian turns face?
What can R-Truth do, though?
Apparently not be a world champion, but I digress. I would like to see Judgment Day run its course within the next 12 months. By next year's SummerSlam, it'd be over. And I want the NXT Finn Balor back. I want I want that Finn Balor. I want that Finn Balor, and I want those Good Brothers. I want the Good Brothers to just be like, you know what, we've got a couple of more hot runs, and we can't do it without the leadership that we had before.
Because AJ Styles is basically on the slow exit. So
yeah,
I mean he's been talking for a while as far as the slow exit and kind of just retiring. I mean, when you've done it for almost 25, 30 years, I mean, come on now. He faced Dusty and his son. So I mean, that's
and
that's a Hall of Famer.
You know what?
He's a Hall of Famer.
What he needs to do with his life and his career, all right, cool. You've done the work here, and it's been enjoyed, and we're grateful for you.
Oh yeah.
Get your flowers, go be a trainer, go hang out with your family in Florida or wherever you want to be. Do whatever it is that you want to do. You've done your thing. However, if you still got a little bit in you, we've been cooking up this story, and this is the story. And we can, sit and talk about that all night, what I would like to see in a Bullet Club reunion, in the States. First of all, I want to know who actually owns Bullet Club. Is it New Japan, or does Finn, in his government name, does he own Bullet Club? Who came up with it? I want to know what that is, because if I
agree,
I really want to know that. Yeah, if I was a certain person in a competing promotion, I would be sending cease and desist, be like, "Hey, bro, can't be saying that. If my peoples can't, if my peoples can't do the Texas Longhorn salute, your people can't be using this."
So Bullet Club is owned by New Japan.
So,
So that's a conundrum in and of itself.
so if I was a certain con, I would want to, like, what's going on? I would want to have some discussions, because maybe I want to have my faction that represented Bullet Club in Japan, start saying Bullet Club. You know what I'm saying? So
Maybe WWE is doing this, like opening the door, and might let some of these guys over.
So if they do, it probably won't be with New Japan. And I saw this again on another podcast. I believe on Wrestle Talk, or maybe even Wrestling Days. That it wouldn't be New Japan, but it would be the Noah promotion that they would bring people in. So Great Muda's promotion that's why they got Shinsuke, so they can open up working agreements and stuff like that. It's
I think that would be great for the wrestling community business. I think like diversifying, because again, obviously with Vince, it was very closed off, and now under Triple H, it seems to. I mean, even bringing in like some of the TNA when they did like at Royal Rumble and stuff, they brought back Jordan Grace, a couple other ones, and so I feel like, and they brought Mickey James in the past, and so I think wrestling in and of itself, the product, I feel like essentially no matter what brand you're on, like wrestling is a community, right? Like just the professional wrestling game in and of itself is a giant, huge community of fans and wrestlers and promotions, and they're all trying to do the same thing. They're trying to entertain people, and I think that I don't think it would be out of the question in, let's say, the next, we'll call it 3 years, that we might start seeing more cross promotion, and just in the direction we see Triple H going, and some other promotions kind of, because like AEW basically kind of is sub-owning a bunch of other, brands. And so I feel like eventually, well, that's just me hoping and dreaming, because there's so many good wrestlers. There's so much across every brand. Like New Japan, those guys just go a whole different level, from a technical standpoint. Because I don't think there's any more agile, talented people than in New Japan. Those guys will do anything.
Oh yeah, there's some high flyers over there.
And I think that would be awesome if, let's say, you throw some New Japan guy versus like Ricochet. Just let him wrestle. Let it go. You know what I'm saying?
Ricochet did cut his teeth in Japan just as Ospreay did. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be.
Yeah, because I seen it was a Ricochet versus Dragon Lee way back, and it was just like these crazy moves that you could only even like. There's not enough buttons to push on a freaking game controller to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
like, oh, maybe I got him.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I think that would be cool. I mean, I really think that, when wrestling becomes less about brand supremacy, but just the product. Obviously, you're going to have divided brands. That's always going to be how it is. But this is just pontification. But like,
right.
But
So who was, in your opinion, a surprise win or surprise loss from this week's WWE programming? Who were you surprised to see win or lose?
I was honestly, as far as, man, it's really tough because it's like, in my mind, I want who I want, but I'm surprised, Lyra Valkyria got as far as she did, like you said, because you have these rookies. I really thought Carmelo Hayes, being that he came out the gate to face Cody in a match, obviously lost, but like, I am a Carmelo Hayes guy. I am all about him. I think he has a bravado and an attitude that it's very fresh, in a mindset. I look forward to what Carmelo. I think Carmelo Hayes in the next year is going to be a singles champion, not top tier, secondary, U.S. Intercontinental, something like that. Yeah, I really I like that they brought up a ton of NXT people, whether you've seen them on
Plus,
TV or the after drafts.
same.
But we'll cut it off there, and next week maybe do a little more fantasy booking once we have King of the Ring behind us, and we see kind of who's up, who's down. Because again, we still have Raw tomorrow, we still have SmackDown Friday, so anything can happen. I'm sure we'll have another Drew Cry story because that just seems to be the status quo.
I did
I
like
really,
his little video on Instagram when he had the Eminem song. He's sitting at his desk
yeah,
and it says CM Punk's a bitch.
dude,
He's like sitting there like with the Eminem song where can't think of the name of it now. Sitting there, he gets up and the camera zooms right into his small little note that says CM Punk's a bitch.
oh man,
I'm like, that's perfect.
the absolute annihilation that social media brings to professional wrestling and entertainment, like because you're not just seeing the product on the TV, you're seeing social media craze, man. And dude, I love it. I honestly love it just because it's more than you're getting more attitude on social media than you are seeing on live.
And I
But
did like CM Punk's one too because he did announce that his character of himself is going to be in the new video game, and he told Drew, "Hey, you can go play as your favorite wrestler, your favorite superstar, and be just like me and all that." I'm like, this rival, this storyline that's going is fucking
dude,
great. I love it.
I really hope it culminates. Let's call it like SummerSlam, I think, honestly.
Oh, I could think it'd be
You
a
know,
SummerSlam.
Unless they have
Clash
a
of the
couple of their,
Castle.
back and forth matches, and then
That
they,
Clash of the Tassel too, yeah. Maybe that one.
oh man, he'll lose again. He'll lose again in his home country.
Oh god, that'll be an insult to him. Man, you're 0-2 in your own country.
I feel so bad when like how the okay. Well, anyways, we'll get offline and talk about this. Holy shit, we could rabbit trail for days. So this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.